Hi, thank you so much again for joining us. We are Midlife Humor Gurus. I'm Sue.
And I'm Jen.
And we are entering dun 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 the holiday season.
True story.
I think we've actually already entered it. So here's what happens. We get to Halloween, October 31st, which we know that's when Halloween is, right? And everything is all spooky and ghosts and pumpkins and pumpkin spice and fall and fires and dry crackly leaves. And then at 12:01 a.m. on November 1st, it's deck the freaking halls.
You literally cannot do one season anymore. Like even shopping for Halloween candy that day, bless your heart if there is one, a single thing left, and two, if there aren't Christmas wreaths everywhere around you, you're missing something. Yes, I called it a Christmas wreath. We call them Christmas wreaths in our house. That's a flashback to Scooby-Doo, who calls Christmas wreaths Christmas wreaths. So just
Rut-row. Okay,
gotcha. Rut-row, right. Okay. So anyway,
gotcha.
for my Scooby-Doo fans. So
no,
yeah,
I
so
seriously, I've gotten this close to giving Halloween candy as Christmas gifts because really you are killing several birds with one stone with that. If anybody wants to use that idea,
pull it together. You're welcome. Exactly. So yeah, precisely. So what happened was Sue and I were launching our podcast and I was like, I feel like midlife women might want to talk about how to really love the holiday season.
What?
And not just survive it. I know. And not just survive it, but actually thrive during the holiday season, really, and coming to a place of enjoying it. With that being said, we also understand that it can be full of stressful experiences. Hey, buddy. Sorry, I'm not talking to you, Sue. My dog is down here giving himself a bath right now.
Oh, that's awesome.
So if you all hear incessant licking in the background, real sorry about that. Okay.
There you go.
So it's all of the guests here in the studio. They might have some unusual self-care habits while we're on camera. Real sorry about that. So what's happening is we just wanted to bring forward conversation about how to really elevate and have an experience of the holidays that belongs to you. And for many of us, that looks like, blended family situations, travel, the sometimes stress around the financial component of the holiday. I had asked our group of women and in Midlife Repurposed, and they were like, one of the answers was family, 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 family. I was like, I think we've got a strong opinion about the stress that might be related to family.
Picking up a pattern.
Right, exactly. Expectations around the holidays, family boundaries, self-care, all these things. So we're going to do our very best to harness some of those pieces for you and sort of begin to kind of create or reinvent the holidays in a way that feels like it's a little bit more in alignment for you so that you can actually really enjoy them. So like I said, we are going to have a guest joining us for at least part of this. We're really looking forward to that. And so our friend Jill Segerson is going to be joining us in a little while. And so she's going to help us kind of lay out this idea of reinventing the holiday for what it means to you. Before we dive into that though today, I feel like what it might be kind of nice to do, and I didn't tell Sue we were going to do this before, so I'm sure she's really stoked. It's always fun when your partner's like, surprise! But I thought it might be nice, Sue, for us to just lay the groundwork of what the holidays sort of mean to you and I, so that right, everyone coming in, because like everyone doesn't experience it the same way, and so I want to just be able to kind of define for the listeners about like who are we, how do we show up to that, what have our experiences look like. So if you don't want to start, I can certainly take a run at it, but otherwise you can take it away and let people know a little bit about how you show up to the holidays.
Now here's my deer in the headlight look because I wasn't prepared.
Do you want me to take a run?
I'm prepared now. No, okay. No, absolutely not. I got her.
I know you do. I volleyed it to you. Your turn. Go ahead.
So mine is twofold, only because I had holiday thoughts and expectations as a child, as we all do. Mm-hmm. And then it has morphed into something completely different and, dare I say, darker and more drab than it was when I was a kid. And it's by my own design. And the reason for that is because I love the season. Okay. There is nothing about the season that I don't love.
Yes.
Only because it's magical. It feels like, unless you're working in retail, it feels like everyone is kind to each other.
Yeah.
Again, unless you're working in retail, guilty, been there. I'm just saying, wow, people suck sometimes. Okay. But there's also just this, the weather is my favorite. the whole nostalgia of it is my
Yes.
favorite.
Yes.
I grew up on a farm out in the country. We had 25 acres of my own winter wonderland. It was always snowing. Maybe it wasn't, but that's what it seems like I remember.
Right, right.
Um, and I loved that.
Mhm.
What I'm now discovering is that what I lived as a child, my parents lived something completely opposite. My dad had to clear the snow.
Yeah, right,
My
right,
parents had to drive in the snow.
right.
My mother had to plan all of the gifts, both from them and from other family members and from the North Pole. And
Mhm.
it was so much for them. And I didn't realize that until I got to be an adult.
Yeah.
And then my first marriage was my in-laws were very, well, okay. My mother-in-law was very demanding. And I have nothing against my in-laws.
Yeah.
This is just, I was raised with Christmas being with my dad's family, and that's it.
Okay.
And I never saw the other side. I never saw my mom's parents were in Florida over the
Okay.
winter. They lived with us the rest of the year, but they were in Florida over the winter.
Okay.
So I only saw one side. And then I got married and I was like forced to spend holidays in not even just in my town where I lived, but I had to go to my husband's hometown in
Right.
Illinois. So it was out of state. And it was very stressful for me because they didn't like me and I didn't like them. So that's not fun.
Okay.
And then my husband at the time we'd get to the house and now he's with his cousins and he's with his aunts and his uncles and a lot of them were close in age. And now I'm left alone with people I don't know. I don't ever
Right.
see the rest of the year. They
Right.
don't like me and I don't like them. It's not even so much that I
Yeah.
didn't like them.
Yeah.
I was an awkward young bride. I had
Right.
no idea how to be around people like that. And they
Right.
were so close and loving.
Mhm.
And then they would fight. And then it would like, I don't ever remember there being Christmases where there were arguments or
Okay.
discussions about politics where it got to be
Okay.
heated. And
Okay.
we had one night where even though all of the other siblings on my dad's side were Packers fan, one was a Bears fan just to spite his own dad.
Yeah.
um it was always copacetic. And so I am no longer with that husband. My next husband, the holidays were fine but not required, but kind of lackluster.
Okay.
I've now reached a point where I appreciate the season. I love the joy of it. I try to get in on going around and looking at the lights and
Yeah.
doing this, that, and the other.
Right.
But I also have a significant other who grew up in a religion that didn't celebrate Christmas.
That
So
does complicate things.
I went from one extreme to the extreme other. And so
Yeah.
now not only are my Christmases different in
Right.
reality, but
Right.
I also get a lesson from him about what Christmas actually means in his religion. And it's just
Yeah.
too much.
Right. Right. Right.
So I've really kind of taken and it put it on the back burner as far as family get-togethers and things like that. I have over the years just kind of etched out Christmas specifically and
Okay.
Thanksgiving Day specifically
Okay.
for myself.
Okay.
I do my own thing and
Yep.
it's different every year, but it's just me and it's what I decide I want to do
Right.
and I do it.
Okay.
And that is and then I enjoy it. And it's
Okay.
not that I'm bah humbugging it.
Right.
It's that I'm not doing and being pulled in 1,000 different directions because this
Mhm.
person wants me here for
Right.
this perfect family photo and that person wants me here for that perfect family photo. And God, being someone's arm candy has just been so exhausting over the years. I've just decided to be my own arm candy.
So much easier that way.
It really is. It really is. It's just too much.
Oh my
There's too
God.
much. There's only so much of Sue to go around.
Yes.
So yeah, so that's kind of where it's, but I do every year. I look forward to it. I love it. I love it when the frost hits. I love it when I see Christmas decorations now and I think, God, it's too soon, but I don't care because I love seeing it.
Yeah.
It still holds
Sure.
an incredibly magical feeling for me because
Yes.
I am still skating on the nostalgia of over 40 years ago
Sure.
back to my childhood because I
Sure.
know how beautiful it can be, especially for
Yes.
kids.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Um, so I love your point of just going back and having this nostalgic reference. I think most of us probably sort of that's the foundation of where we start, right? The way that our families celebrate and how they show up to it. And I was really, really lucky. I'm the kind of person that probably you might want to have a small trash can beside you because mine was sort of that like idyllic, like very, very blessed that I had my mom in particular love holidays. My mom's love language was very much celebrating things. And so Christmas to me was, candles burning, certain scents, peppermint and pepper, like, pine trees and balsam. And I love all that. That's something that I do every year. Fireplace going, full on tree, probably more than one in our home. Very, very gifty. One of our love languages as a family, many of us is gifting. So lots of things underneath the tree. And music all season long. We are like incessant Christmas music listeners, like start a season, like anytime now, I'll be listening to it all day, every day for the season. So I feel really, really lucky to have had an environment to grow up in where even when we didn't necessarily have the same amount of money every time, the same
Sure.
amount of juice and energy and beauty and celebrating each other and family and big meals that we shared and treats that we had and created every year. And so there's lots of it's steeped in beauty. And so for me, I have much like you, this really like nostalgic, beautiful version of the holidays and feel really, really lucky to have had that kind of experience because there are people in the world that never get to even have that.
Right.
So I'm grateful for this sort of, foundational platform that I grew in. And then when I started to launch and move into my own family, I think the hardest thing was then starting to split your holidays, right? So I got married and then you're splitting your holidays and things like that. And what happened was for us was it got really like chaotic. So what we didn't want to leave anyone out. We didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I mean, everyone, probably many of us relate to this, right? With like, well, how do we be here and Christmas Eve and then over here? And, and my family was in Wisconsin. My husband's family is in Minnesota. How do we sort of juggle all that? And so we sort of came to a place where we were like, okay, we're going to carve out what our Christmas is for us first as our family. So we had Chloe, it was like, okay, now we have to take out the racket. Because what happens is when we tried doing all the things, we were frazzled. You showed up to the dinner with half on shirt and a crazy angry child, and everyone's tired and cranky, and we're overdone, and it was miserable. And it wasn't that it was anyone's fault. It wasn't right the host or the hostess or us. It's we got in that hustle, the grind of, oh yeah, attend this and this and this and this and this. And finally we were like, this is not working. So we finally said, okay, we're going to sort of try Madison every other year in some capacity. Could be Christmas Day, could be day after Christmas, could be 2 days after. We're like, well, we do what we do, trying to kind of split. And that was really kind of the way that we started carving out some sanity so that we didn't feel this complete chaos. Thanksgiving is usually something I host, which I relish. It is my one holiday of the year that I get to host in my home. And I love hosting things like that. I love that there are people everywhere in my house, air mattresses that make people sleep like a taco, and bad mattresses in the guest room, and clothes and towels everywhere, and a mess is true. And normally my OCD self somehow takes a respite during that whole time because I love that. I love the energy of getting up and having breakfast in our jammies and sharing coffee and the newspaper looking for Black Friday deals. And we just have a really beautiful system. And so, like I said, in some ways, I'm very, very blessed to have kind of had this really lovely foundation. And then I've had to maneuver. I've had to sort of reinvent with time as I've aged and as I've come to different places. And the other thing I would say, I've maybe aged out of, well, I wouldn't say I've entirely aged out of it because old habits and all that. For me, as we've grown as a family, as we've evolved, one of the things I find is that I'm really much more passionate about having experience at the holidays.
Mm.
Gifts are awesome. Things are nice. Particularly, it's really fun for my young adult daughter. And my daughter was always really easy and really fun to buy for. So I love that. And for me, as I've aged, I'm like, I'm not going to remember what I got you for Christmas as a gift. The year we went to Colorado, I'm going to talk about that forever.
Mm-hmm.
The year I packed you a bag in preparation for a cruise coming in the spring. I'm never going to forget that. So things that we were sort of more focused on experience and memory definitely seem to be much more valuable to me as I've aged. Because obviously my value of things has diminished. And now it's much more about like, are memories and time. And so that's definitely a big shift for me. So I feel really lucky. I didn't have boundaries where like people were arguing. It wasn't like that. Like even my parents really navigated that beautifully. They were like, you're a married person. We know we're going to share. My in-laws, same. I mean, there wasn't like a, like, oh my God, everyone's going to be pissed. And I was really blessed not to have that experience. Our families were very lovely about that. And
Well,
really,
good. I must have won the lottery then.
sorry. Sorry about that. Because that's where I say I'm coming in just my Pollyanna like version of the holidays.
Sure.
Really, really lucky. And there were hard ones. I wouldn't say that we haven't had hard moments, but I would say that definitely where I see it more as an adult, that gratitude for parents who held up the nostalgia, who did the gifting and all the work to make those experiences. And my mom taught me the value of experience. My mom taught me the value of presence through candles and fires and music. And those weren't things that were gifts, but they were big gifts. They were nostalgic
Beautiful.
gifts,
Yeah.
right? So different kind of gift. So I feel really lucky that that's something that I've passed on to, my daughter. My daughter's very much about those same things. And so to me, that's a big, deep meaning of the holiday, is really that presence and things like that. But it is a financial stress. We asked the community that we are Midlife Repurposed, our ladies, and they're like, hey, what's stressing you the most about the holidays? And we had one person say family, family, family. So we're gonna try to attend to that. We had people say, it's financial that I get here every year, and there's a lot of stress and strain about how much to spend and where that comes from, and what that means for our budget, what that means for our account, how I'm gonna navigate with grace those pieces. That's a really tough piece of the mindset of the holiday. I think is really hard. And boundaries. So again, family issues, expectations, how we show up to that, and blended families. There's lots of different styles of families out there. So there's families that are one person, there are families that are two people, there are people that have blended up, and it's not just their blood relatives, but it's chosen family. So I think we also want to just respect and regard that we show up in all its forms, right? And so just respecting that too. But there's expectations around it. It can be really, really stressful, and it can get really chaotic. And so one of the other pieces that people spoke to was the energy of the season, which is like parties and the extended family Christmas and the other family Christmas. And pretty soon I've now had 10 Christmases. And that's a lot. It can really feel like it can overwhelm us and create a sense of the season of being chaotic, rather than something to be celebrated and to be present in. And so we hope that we're going to be bringing some of those subjects forward so that you can have a different sense of creating some lightness and clarity and a different relationship with the holiday, because it does not have to be what we all thought it was. So many of us have been in tense spaces around that, but that's not the only way to have the holiday season. So
Right.
we hope to get you off the ground and give you some tools and tips on how to show up differently. So yeah. And
Beautifully said. Well said.
and have a sense of humor about the whole thing.
Yes.
Just
yes.
buckle in.
Because if you don't laugh, you're going to drink too much, and then
or cry, or both.
Yeah.
And there's nothing more lovely than crying in your beer at the holiday, or having big knockdown dragouts, because everyone's tipsy and everyone's got loose lips, and nothing says joy like a big family argument. So we are going to talk through a different way to show up to your holidays. And we just really hope that, like I said, it elevates and expands the version of the holidays that maybe you've shown up to give you permission, which you don't need. But I always like to use that terminology, like we give you permission to begin again, reinvent, rediscover, reawaken how you want to show up in this middle part of life with a holiday season. So that's what we're going to be bringing. So stay tuned. Next up, we're going to be bringing a guest in. We can't wait for you to meet her. We know that she's going to bring some really beautiful, juicy magic to our conversation today. She is going to be talking about some fine points that I think are excellent kind of suggestions and tips for how to do things differently as well. So we'll be bringing her in next. Sue, is there anything you have before we close? Anything? Your facial expression.
I know. I keep forgetting I'm on camera, and I'm not keeping track of what my face is doing, and it's just kind of doing its own thing. And no, the experiences you mentioned, Colorado, I had as a very young child. I had Chicago.
Okay.
I was maybe 8, 9 years old, and it was the one year we deviated and went and spent the Christmas season in Chicago with my mother's sister, her only sibling. and her husband. And
Okay.
it was truly magical. And here
Oh,
I am, like I'm almost 40 years away from it in the
and
rearview
you're
mirror,
still
both,
talking about it.
and I'm still
Yeah.
talking, both my
Isn't
aunt
that
and uncle are
beautiful?
gone, and I'm
Oh,
still, yeah. And that's my pinnacle
I
holiday
love that.
season,
I
because
love that.
it was magic.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, I will say that probably one of my very favorite Christmases. One was at the cabin we had for a minute in Wisconsin, and Chloe was about 4, and it snowed a foot and a half of snow.
Mm,
And we just made homemade food. We had treats. We got a big toboggan that year. We went down the side
nice.
of the hill. It was like that quintessential,
Yes.
and then we went to
Hallmark movie.
Colorado. Oh, it was literally like that Hallmark movie vibe. Like we're making igloos and like we're doing all, it's so much fun. And so we just had such a beautiful present kind of holiday. And then the one in Colorado was really spectacular. Like one of my favorite memories is we finally get in, we fly in, we stop at Hot Springs, and then we get to Breckenridge where we're going to stay. So we have our rental and we're driving through. And this is Chloe in the back seat. She is out. The kid is out. We got up early. She is passed out hardcore. Zach and I am not kidding. It's literally snowing, literally snowing. It's all the Christmas lights are on. The gondola is over here, this little ski bunnies and all the people. This is me, shit eating grin. Like I thought my face would break. It looked like someone took a snow globe and went
And shook it.
and it was literally like this dream. I said, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. And just I have a picture of Chloe that's one of my favorites, and it's in the place that we stayed. We got like kind of like an Airbnb, but it was a condo, beautiful condo. And she's standing in this big, long, full length window, just looking out. She's got this cute
Oh.
ski hat on and her jammies. And it was such a beautiful, every single place we went, full of lights, full of joy, full of like all of the energy of the season on steroids.
I
And it
love
was,
it.
and being in the mountains and being in it was literally such a magical experience. We all still talk about it. And so I'm with you. There is something so beautiful sometimes about doing something that I think is so outside the norm as well. So I love that you said that about your aunt and uncle, because I'm like, ooh, that is literally one of my very favorite, juiciest memories was that trip. Those times where we did something slightly off the cuff.
Right.
And you sort of, then you're really present because you're not doing the running. And I love that too. I love the family meals. I love the family, gift exchange and the laughter and the games. We love that.
Right.
And also stepping outside of that gives you a great appreciation for both, like
Correct.
what it's like to really have this suspended joy, and then also what it's like to have that family, that whole really traditional kind of energy, if that's what you have in your wheelhouse.
Yes.
So love it. So thank you for sharing that. That was so beautiful. So well said. And we are going to go get our guests. So just listen in for podcast number 2 coming in for the holidays. We hope that you enjoy this. We hope that you will drop comments and questions for us as always. We welcome that. That's really kind of what we want to do, is be an engaging space for community. So please know that. We also have a Midlife Repurposed through Femme-Powered Joy and Humor on Facebook. So you're welcome to come and join that community. We love to add members to that. That is beautiful space, and it's growing as we speak. We're so excited. So if you're listening in and you want to come join us there, we welcome that. That's a beautiful space to connect to other women who are dealing with all of the things in midlife and reinventing the way that we do it. So we welcome you there as well. But until next time, we just want to say thanks so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Sue, any finishing thoughts, my friend?
No, good luck and Godspeed to the holidays. And I hope we can help you.
Me too. Me too. All right, everyone. We will see you next time. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.